All right. Let's see. Just had to come live here. Just had to come online to honestly celebrate with those of you that are. All right. Yeah, I just wanted to come online here to share my thoughts with some of you. I've been getting some messages, and I really wanted to I want to share a story. This is not going to be for a very long time. This live, I just don't want to have to record and make a new video again because I just made one. But I have the time. I'm free today anyway. Go back to work tomorrow. And if you're spending some time with me, I appreciate that. Don't forget to drop a like on the video. Don't forget to subscribe if you're new here. But the important thing I want to talk about right now is the spirit of not giving up. When it comes to, hey Tom, all right, glad to see you. Thanks for joining. When it comes to these programs, all right, I'm really specific about Spirit Bird program. I know that a lot of people are interested in the program, and it's one of the honestly, based on what I've gathered, it's one of the most difficult ones out there as well. The level of people that are selected, the caliber of people is quite high. So it can be quite tough to crack. But somebody sent me this message, and it was in the lines of, this is, I feel like I blew my opportunity, that was what the person told me. And I would like to share a story of a few people. I won't mention names, but their story to me is very inspiring, considering I actually have interacted with these people. So I consider them as my friends, even though I've not seen them in person. And that's how I've interacted with most of you guys, and most of you guys and girls, by the way. Hi, Ademola. Thanks for joining. So, the first person that I'm going to talk about, right? I hope he gets to see this video. If he gets to see it, I'm sure he's going to reach out to me. But it's so important to share this because it's a very inspiring one. Last year, this person went through the Spirit Bird program, got to the final stage, considering how difficult it was to go through the steps and the stages. I'm sure some of you that have gone through this know this already. Got to the final stage, and unfortunately came short by, when I say came short, the points needed was about, I believe, it was like, imagine you needed 100%, right? This person had about maybe 98%. That's just the best way I can describe it. Or 96%. Okay. I mean, getting 96% is very, very good, right? I mean, everybody would agree with that. But you came short by, in this case, this person came short by 2 points. Or 4 points in my reference anyway. And this person, right, got offered the opportunity to go on the self-sponsored pathway. But long story short, the person couldn't do that. And the person tried for other programs, 2 other programs. And the consecutive 2 programs that this person tried for, the person got to the final stage. Made it to the final stage. The first one, this is not for Speedbird, for some other airlines, got to the first stage, got to the final stage of the first of this subsequent test, got to the final stage, didn't get through. On the and by the way, this person, a lot of lessons were learned during this whole test process. And the reason why I'm sharing this is to let you guys know, guys and girls that are out there, if you have not been selected for any reason, know that the lessons you have learned are very important. And and like I shared in the video that I just released on the channel, it is very important for you to spend time to digest this information and see it as actually a bonus, a lesson for you to use it to your advantage on a future assessment. So anyway, this person tried a subsequent airline, got to the final stage, kind of got selected, but partially selected in the sense, because let's assume, I think this airline only needed, let's say 50 people. And based on his score, he did so well that they offered him the opportunity, but they had already chosen the 50 people they needed. So he did well. They would have selected him, but just based on some metrics, they offered him the opportunity to be on what I considered a reserve, or pretty much a reserve list or a backup list, just in case one of the other people ahead of him don't get through, maybe through some background check and stuff like that. Then this person will be selected, right, to replace them. So you can see how close this person has been coming all along, right? But this person didn't give up, right? And this person got through to the Speedbird program, has just gotten selected now. Can you imagine how ecstatic or delighted or just grateful this person felt receiving that good news? Why am I sharing this? I want you all that are maybe on the cusp of just feeling, down and disappointed and feeling like, oh, you blew this chance. You haven't blown the chance. You've actually given yourself another chance at this. It's just a matter of when. And when, in the sense, if you take the lessons that you have gathered from this whole experience, you apply them. Right? So important. You have to go back to the table and go back to and by the way, that was just one person. There's another, a female now, all right, that got to the final, didn't get through the first time, went to another airline interview, didn't get through on that one, but has just finally been selected as well on the Speedbird. Why am I sharing this? This is just to encourage you all that don't be disappointed. Take the lessons. Yes, it's okay to be down. It's okay to grieve. I mean, if you think about it that way, it's okay to grieve for a minute, but don't let it last more than that. Go back to the drawing board and let's see, okay, where did I come short? What are the lessons that I can take away from this whole experience? Don't spend the time wallowing in the disappointment. You want to spend the time to actually gather the lessons you've taken away from this. This is your golden ticket. And by the way, the good thing about the Speedbird program is that they give you feedback, especially if you make it to the final. Use that feedback. Take the notes, take enough notes, ask enough questions during your feedback. That is your golden ticket. If you can get the feedback and you compare it, and I just shared this in the video that I shared on the channel. If you can compare the two information, the reason why you want to look at these two information side by side is you're able to get a perspective of a third person, looking at what the interviewer sees in you during the whole, process of going through the assessment, and what you thought. By the way, that I'm guessing you have written down already. You're able to compare this information, and then you can go back to your future assessments armed with this information, knowing, okay, what I should do, how I can improve, or what I need to improve on, and that would work in your favor. This is crucial. This is important. I just wanted to share this and let you see the way I feel, like not in a video, not in just, this is just me, right? This is how I speak. This is how I talk. This is me. And I hope that you see the true me, and you see the fact that my desire is for majority of you to get through, right? This programs. My desire is for you to get selected, but the work has to be done by you. You have to sit down to really know and do your own self-assessment, critique yourself. And it's so important. Like I said, a third person's view of this whole thing is important, especially when you have your feedback. That third person perspective by you, which is you sitting down to look at, okay, what did I think I did on that day? How did they actually score me on that day? That two important perspectives will give you that edge, that advantage when you go in for that next opportunity, when you go in for that next interview, when you go in for that next assessment. It is very crucial you do that. Hey, free runners, thanks for joining. Proverbials crew, I got a place. Well done. Thank you. Thanks for sharing that. All right. Well done. Congratulations to you, Proverbials crew. Hi, Belkri. Sorry if I'm pronouncing your name incorrectly. Throughout this whole story, this person took the time and effort to help others, including myself, an absolute selfless. Amazing. Thanks, Tom. Thanks, Tom. I hope that, again, my desire is for you guys. I spend this time. I dedicate my own time to this. Why? Because one, I think back to my own journey of how I started, the struggles I went through. Nobody was there to spend time with me, right? And that is really what has inspired this channel that I created. I really pour my heart and self into it, and I hope that it comes through in the information I share. And the goal is, to make sure that the next person that is coming after me into this field that I'm so passionate about can go through the process without having to make the mistakes I made, right? We're all going to make our mistakes, but maybe I can cut it short, right? Maybe you can speed up the process for the next person. And that's why I really just have this channel. Free runner, Stephen, is the modular route still liked by airlines, or do they prefer integrated applicants? Honestly, when it comes to that, I believe it depends on whether you go through the modular route or the integrated route. It does not matter. At the end of the day, you get your license, you get your experience, and if you can get through the interview process, that's what the airline cares about, because the interview process is really where it's not just about getting the license, right? Also going through the interview process, getting selected shows that you have what they want, right? So it's not about them preferring one over the other. It comes down to the applicant going through the whole process. Okay. Having self-criticism and being able to reflect is so important, not only just for these programs, but for when you're a pilot one day. I'm sure we'll all make tiny mistakes along the way, so we need that perspective for sure. We need to be able to reflect from them. That's correct. Thanks for sharing that. I'm a new follower. Please list the scholarships available now for international students to apply for. Now, when it comes to scholarships for international students, this is always an area that I struggle with. I'll be honest about that. All right. But the reason is because a lot of scholarships only cater to people within the country where the scholarship originates. So, for example, if there's a scholarship in Europe, it only caters to people that are able to live and work in Europe. If it's a scholarship in the US, it caters to people that are able to reside in the US. Generally that's how it works now. But there are some scholarships that are for international students specifically. But those are generally available through organizations, right? So, for example, you may have programs through like Boeing, Airbus. You may have programs through the IATA or ICAO. All these organizations do try to find opportunities for developing countries and such. So, my advice is, I'll be honest, I don't know any current scholarship right now. I know one in the US, but it's not available to international students. If I find any scholarship that is open to international students, I'll definitely share it on the channel. But at the top of my head right now, I do not have any, unfortunately. And that's just because they're very hard to come by. That's just the simplest way to address that. Let's see. Proverbials crew, thank you so much. Listen to this man. He knows what he's talking about. Thanks. I appreciate that. All right. I used to join the Cathay Pacific for the cadet program, but I don't have any idea where to start about to complete. So from what I've gathered about Cathay Pacific, they have the requirement for you to live and work somewhere in the Asia, I believe. There's always the requirement. Let me see, because I can actually pull it up now. A cadet program, I think in not Singapore. Let me see. Because I know theirs is generally open all through, but there's this requirement to leave. Yeah, so you need the right to live and work in Hong Kong or the Chinese mainland. All right, eligible for the IANG. I don't know what that is, but you need the right to live and work in Hong Kong to apply to Cathay Pacific. So that's something to keep in mind. If you have that, then of course, as long as you meet the rest of the requirements, you should give it a shot. All right. But I don't usually get a lot of information on the program, specifically referring to Cathay Pacific. All right, so but I'm always open to help out in whatever way I can, because at the end of the day, these interviews are generally the same, and they may test their assessments may be slightly different, but that's where PASS come in, and some of these prep websites out there, they kind of help you to give you some information or the test that kind of simulates what they are looking for. Nothing is 100% accurate, and that's where your ability to do your own part, study, do extra work that is required, comes in. All right. Let's see. Not only are you giving in person, I can honestly tell you love the person. Hopefully I can buy you a drink one day. Thanks, free runner. I appreciate that. I'm just reading the comments here. Sorry guys, I wasn't planning to come live. I just felt like instead of making another video, I should come live, chat, interact with you all, since I have the time right now. This is from Nick. Well done to everyone who has been offered a place. An incredible effort with so much to look forward to. Absolutely. I always say this, right? This opportunity is like you're given or awarded, or you just won a lottery. Think about it that way. I mean, it's not a lottery because you had to put a lot of work into it. So that is not to minimize the effort that those that have been selected put in. And even those that got to the final, it's a lot of effort, a lot of work. I would not minimize that. But at the end of the day, there's always that game of luck, right? You just never know. You just never know until you know. And it's like you've just been awarded £100,000. That, hey, take £100,000. You have a job. All you need to do is finish your training, and you can start flying. How great is that? That's amazing, honestly. This is from Alassane. I hope I'm saying that correctly. I'm currently 17 and I'm planning on applying to the Speedbird program next year. However, I'm struggling on preparing for interviews. Any advice? Great. My advice for you is, I've talked about this on my channel. If you go to the playlist section, go to the Speedbird program, literally, if you can start from the one from last year and just play them, let it just play on autoplay, right? And kind of just listen to the general idea of what I talk about. A lot of people have given me feedback. Actually, I got one not too long ago, and I would like to read it because this came in an email. Let me see if I can find it. Let's see. All right, the person says, I've been watching your videos over the past few months whilst applying for to get scholarships. Today was an amazing day. I was lucky enough to get offered a place on the BA Speedbird Academy. I just wanted to give you my sincere thanks. Your videos have been so helpful, and without them, I do not know if I would have been successful. Right? That is just so motivating for me. I know that sometimes I come on these videos. My videos are not 100% great. They're not well edited. Why? Because I'm the only one doing this. And this is not what I do as a full-time job, right? I wish I wish it was, but it wasn't. Or it's not, rather. And the point is, just being able to share this knowledge, this information, and people have taken them for what they are worth, right? And it's changed literally their outcome, all right, on these programs. And I think I do not take the credit for that, because I am just here to bring the advice, right? Just give you some guiding lights, like, hey, do this, say this, do it this way, right? That's all I'm just doing. And then it's now up to you to then be able to apply those concepts that I talk about. Because if you can apply the concept, then that's how you can get the results that you want, right? Because at the end of the day, you are the one that will show up for the interview. You are the one that will show up on that day, not me, right? I'm just here to kind of give you the tips, right, of how you can improve your chances. And when people come back to share this type of feedback, that's really what gives me the joy to continue to even do better and provide valuable resources that you guys may find valuable, okay? So the point is, my advice to you is, what I know, I've already put everything in those videos out there, especially if you go to the cadet programs on my channel, go to the playlist, you can select whatever program you're interested in that I talk about anyway, and play them. If you have any questions, you can, like I say, I always say you reach out to me on Instagram, but I'll be honest with you, my Instagram is kind of backed up because there are so many messages I haven't caught up to. And like I said, it takes time to respond and do all these things, right? but I'll eventually catch up and respond to you. Trust me, that is something I promise to do. So if you have any specific questions or you need specific guidance on certain things, reach out. I would be glad to share what I know. Let's see. Is BA, EasyJet, and TUI the only programs for UK applicants? That's a great question. There's Aer Lingus as well. I'm not sure if Aer Lingus applies. Okay, I think Aer Lingus is the next one you can add to that. 18 years old and just been accepted on the BA. Nice. Congratulations, Logan. Well done. And I'm happy for you. Okay. Well done. Well done. And this is to tell you that just because you are young, all right, doesn't mean you can't get through. I'm happy that you put your age in that because you know it's so important. A lot of people will think, oh, because I'm young, maybe I can't do it. Or a lot of people will think I'm too old, I can't do it. A 40-year-old, a 50-year-old got through. Okay, so just so you guys know that there's always a chance for everybody. They do not discriminate, whether you are white, black, Muslim, Christian, whatever denomination you belong to or religion you have, the color, race, all of that. The point here is the opportunity. As long as, hey, it's very important I say this, as long as you have the right to live and work in the UK. Okay, this is always a big part, and this is what disqualifies a lot of people from being able to join or apply anyway. So keep that in mind. Hello, Cathay Pacific. It is mandatory to have the. Yeah, that's correct. All right. Thanks, Rabbit, for mentioning that. It's very important for you to have the requirement to work in Hong Kong. And I think, one thing I always say is this is always the reason why a lot of people don't get through these programs because of that requirement. There's often a lot of interest, but when you don't have the right to live and work within the territory, it's disqualifying right away. Let's see. Nick, I did not make it through and eagerly await the feedback session. Is very tough to take it right now. I understand, Nick, and I feel the way. I've been through that as well. I've experienced my own disappointments in the past. I will tell you that. It's so funny, right? One of the airlines that I really wanted to work for, like it was. I don't want to mention the airline, but I really wanted to work for this specific airline. Gave it all my best. Did well during the assessment. But then, so the assessment usually has, this was prior to them changing the process now. The assessment had two parts, day one and day two. The day one of the assessment was usually, and by the way, this was not a cadet program. This was an airline interview job, right? So it was a 2-day process. The first day was all about the competency tests. When you think about the mathematics and, what's it called? I've forgotten some of these other ones that we had to do again. The mathematics, the personality tests, what other thing did I do that day? Some other tests anyway. You have to do all those tests. So, made it through that one. The second day was where you had to do the, it's called, and by the way, the HR interview. Then you have to do the interview on that day as well, on the day one. Then on the day two is where you have to sit down with a psychologist, right? And, this is where they ask you questions on how you deal with things, just your experiences. This is not in regards to the job, honestly. It's not. It's just about your life and how you deal with things, like how you deal with setbacks or how you dealt with challenges in the past. Not tell me about the time. This is not. It wasn't an interview. It was just more like a chat, right? But that wasn't the issue. It was more about there was this thing called. It's not something that is done in the UK, from what I know. It's only in the US. Well, actually, this specific airline does that in the US. And I remember going through that thing. It had about 530 questions, and it's not a pass or fail. It's just about a personality test, not a personality test, a spectrum test. It's like what part of, it's kind of a personality test, but it categorizes you into boxes. It tells you like what type of personality what type of personality you have. And the point here is, the airline wants you to be within a certain, I guess, trait. If I put it that way, you have to be within that category. And the reason why they do that is, again, that's what they want, right? So guess what? Made it through, did all that, got the conditional offer, all right? But then they came back and said, based on the outcome of that test that I said, that puts you into this spectrum, that I do not fit the culture. And this is where I tell people that it is very important that you understand the culture of the airline you're applying to, your target airline. Now, don't get me wrong. I thought I understood the culture, right? But maybe I didn't. And I think I didn't actually. So, but that worked out. That I was really disappointed, right? This was the only airline I applied to. I took 3 months to prepare for it because I gave it my best. Like I said, the hardest part of the assessment itself, I got through it, right? I never thought a culture thing would be the reason why they would tell me that, oh, I didn't fit the culture. Like, I thought every airline said they wanted diversity. And when I say diversity, I'm talking about different people with different cultures. I didn't grow up in the US, right? I grew up in Nigeria, and I'm proud about that. And I share that in one of my videos that, this is where I'm from. But if that then plays a role in me getting a job with your airline because I have a different culture, then to what good is that? This is who I am, and this is what I love to do, right? So if I do not fit your culture, thanks for letting me know that. So anyway, looking back now, I'm glad it worked out that way, right? And that's why I'm trying to tell you that do not be disappointed by the outcome you're given, because these setbacks are there to springboard you into your next opportunity, right? You never know the next big opportunity ahead of you. And the truth is, I've gotten several jobs after that, and I never had a culture disparity or you do not fit the culture. I look at the email, I was like, I do not fit the culture. What does that even mean? I can't even tell you what it meant. But the point here is, if you are going through these processes, understand that your desired airline may end up telling you something like that. What do? You have to be able to get up and try for the next one. All right. And this is why it's important that I talk about these things. Understand the culture of the place you're applying to, because that may be the reason why you may choose otherwise. All right. All right. Let's see. All right. My advice to anyone is just to revise and focus on what each stage of the process asks you for. It was always described in advance, and if you target your preparation, you will be confident at each step. That's correct. That's something that I like about some of these programs. It lets you know well in advance what to expect, so you can take the time to prepare. But I always say this though, some things are given. You don't even have to wait for the program to open up. You would have to prepare for an interview. You'd have to do those aptitude tests, right? And those are things that sometimes a week notice isn't enough to prepare for. And that's why it's best for you to start preparing now, right? I always say that, for example, if you don't have access to pass, right, just take, I think I don't know the cheapest subscription they have. I can't remember at the top of my head, but do the cheapest subscription and do that occasionally, just to keep your math skills or keep your logical reasoning, verbal reasoning skills. Keep it up. And of course, you don't have to use pass. You can try other resources that you find out there. But the point here is you have to do what it takes. And if what it takes is you practicing and improving your skills over time, every little bit of work that you do helps to make you a better candidate, or at least increases your odds of success when the actual test comes around. So that is why it's very important for you to take the time and don't wait until the program actually opens up to start preparing. You want to start preparing now. When it comes to interview stuff, I talk about that a lot on this channel, right? But interview is very interesting because it's down to your experiences, right? The experiences you have and how you are able to narrate those experiences using, what do you call it? A very logical way of I'm looking for the word at the top of my head now. Just having a structure. That's what I'm trying to say. Having a structure on how you deliver the information is so important. All right. Let's see. My heart generally goes out to those who didn't quite make it. I really feel like I've won the lottery, as you say. Heed the advice of people like Steven, and I would also suggest paying for online training. Great recommendation. All right. Now, I'm so happy that you mentioned this proverbial screw. I wish I could highlight this. I know there's a way I can do that, but I'm not going to try to figure that out now. I think I can pin this. All right. The reason why I'm doing that, I want you guys to be able to see that, is because I've seen a lot of people, they will say things like, oh, I found this free training resource somewhere. Don't get me wrong. There's nothing wrong with trying free training resource. I would use a free training resource myself. But the question that I'm asking myself though is, how updated is this free training resource? How valid is it? How different is it from the paid resource, right? Because the truth about it is, when you pay for something, one, your commitment level changes. It's not just a free thing anymore now, right? Everybody takes free things for granted. That's the truth about it. That's why even a video that I can show you guys the analytics of my YouTube channel, right? I will spend 20 minutes talking about a video. Guess what? People are only watching it for 5 minutes. Well, on an average, okay? I know some people may watch the full 20 minutes. Some people may only watch 2 minutes and click away. And that's okay. But the point here is it's free. So people take it for what it's worth. So that means if it's worth a lot to you, then you're probably wanting to spend more time, right, on that video to get the most out of it. If it's not worth much to you from the onset, there's a likely chance that you are not going to want to spend time with it. And that means after a minute or two, you're distracted by whatever, and then you click away. But that's because it's free. On the other hand, if you have to pay for that video to watch it, guess what? It changes your view about it. And that's why I always say that it all depends on what it is worth to you. What is the opportunity? What is the worth of that opportunity to you? If you believe the opportunity is worth a lot, then you're likely to give it a lot. If you think the opportunity isn't worth much, then you're likely not going to give it much. It's as simple as that. Let me give you an example. Some person, this wasn't this time around, but I believe this was last year, showed up to an interview wearing a jeans and a polo top or a shirt, a jeans and to an interview. Who shows up to an interview with a jeans and a shirt, right? That's to tell you that, well, maybe isn't what much them. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not here to judge anybody, right? The point here is, if you believe something is worth a lot to you, then you're likely going to do a lot for it. That's just the simplest way to put it. And if that means that, hey, I need to sacrifice, however, how much you believe it's worth to get that resource that would likely help you, then you do it. If you feel like, the free stuff is what you believe it's worth for you, then of course, go ahead and do that. Just know that if free stuff, right, what happens with these free programs is that they're generally not updated. They may not be accurate. Okay. And if you practice with something like that, you're not like, I'm not here to judge anybody. I know that not everybody is able to fund things and, work and all that. So I get that, but I'm just trying to share with you that whatever you believe something is worth is what you would give it, even if that thing is given to you for free. Okay. Let's see. This is from World Football. Doing aerospace degree in final year in India. I wanted to become a pilot, but again, spending finances like zero. Any wise words? All right. So I don't know where you are currently. You say you're doing aerospace degree in final year in India. So you're in India. Generally speaking, my advice to you would be, you said again, spending finance. I don't know what it means. Maybe you're not able to raise the funds for training. And I understand that. The best advice I have is, can you look for any form of scholarship programs in India? That's where you get the most chance. And I know that there's a lot of interest from that region as well. So there's generally limited opportunity with a lot of people vying for that opportunity. So competition is very, very high. But that is my best advice. Now, considering the degree you are studying, you're studying aerospace degree, you're doing an aerospace degree, I think that gives you an opportunity to get into an aviation field from the get-go. Hopefully you get a job in an aviation field. And your ability to either raise the money becomes a bit easier. So that means you're working, you're saving money, right? And you can save the money to maybe fund your own training. The other thing to that is, if depending on where you work or where you finally get a job, you may be able to get sponsored to actually train through the organization you work for. Again, it all depends on the organization, depends on the timing, depends on the need. There's so many factors with that. But the point here is, scholarship programs that aren't in India can be quite difficult to get because of just the fact that they cater to people that are from the origin where the scholarship is actually sponsored. Like, so for example, if you're trying to apply to a scholarship program in the US, generally speaking, those scholarship programs are for people that have the right and right and the privilege to work in the US. That's just generally how that goes. But again, continue to do your research. Again, I have this channel for that same purpose, to be able to share this information with people that are interested, let's see. This is from Gimba. Hello, please. What can I? Let me do that. Let me remove. Okay, cool. I think I deleted that message. I wanted to unpin the message. That's what I wanted to do. Sorry about that. Let's see. Hi, Stephen. Can you champion a course or partner with a financial institution to support international flight students in terms of funding? It will really help us. Now, that is something that I haven't seen the opportunity yet. I honestly, that's a very good recommendation by Patrick. Okay. Definitely, I cannot sponsor it, right? Because I don't have the means to do that. Okay. But if I were to get the opportunity to work with an organization that, that is able to provide the means to do it, I would definitely take the opportunity, because I know what that means to a lot of international students. And I was once an international student myself. So I would love to take an opportunity like that if given. All right. Sorry, I think I missed a couple of questions here. This is from Gimba. It says, hello, please, what can you say about flight training in Canada? What I know about Canada is that they generally do have their issues with weather, right? Especially during the winter season because of, extreme cold weather, snow and all that. But otherwise, training is training, right? You just have to go through the process. I do have a few friends that had to fly they had to come over to this US to train, and then they went back to Canada. Now, I don't know if that is something that you've considered, but that's something to keep in mind, because a lot of times training takes much longer again, just generally speaking, right? It takes much longer in Canada because of the weather. So if you can fly in an area where the weather is conducive for flight training, your training can end up being, you can go through training much faster, and that means you likely spend less money. So that's what I know about Canada anyway. You may remember me. I was one of the candidates that got offered self-sponsored route, getting the Skyborne tour this week. Any advice for the first time visiting a dream flight school? William, I think I remember. Now, don't get me wrong. I have a few Williams on that I chat with, but I think I remember you. I'm sorry if I'm mixing things up. But the point here is, congratulations to you. This was from the previous year, by the way, for anybody that is watching this. So last year, if you got close, let's assume that you didn't get the score that you came really close to the score that they wanted, due to the fact that they only needed 100 people they could only sponsor 100 people. They offered some self-sponsored options to other people that did really well. So anyway, William was part of those people, and in this case is about to start his training. I'm so happy for you. Any advice for the first time visiting a dream flight school? I think my advice is to soak it in, right? Let it sink in. Those experiences are always golden. I remember my first time stepping to to the flight school and just realizing that this is about to get real, right? Let it sink in. Let it sink in. Take your time, enjoy it. And by the way, I do have a few friends as well that are in training. Currently at Skyborne, and it's amazing, and it's just it's gladdening to see that these are people that through whatever form they found value in what I say, and now they are there going through training, and it's just amazing, and it's always nice to read messages like that. So what I would say is, take your time. It's getting real, right? You're going to have your first flight. You're going to do your solo flight. You're going to do your solo cross-country flights. You're going to then get your private, and you're going to move up the ranks like that. And eventually you're going to join BA, God willing, right? And you start to fly the jet around. That'll be cool, right? And hopefully you get to see each other one time at some point. But let it soak in, all right? That's all I can say. It's going to go by quickly, trust me. Also, is it possible to get specified ATPL loan without a guarantor, without assets to back it? To be honest, it's hard from what I know, it may be a bit of a challenge to do that without a guarantor. Generally speaking, most of these places do require a guarantor or some assets to back it. But one thing I can also say, not that I'm very familiar with the loan aspect, but one thing I can say is, if you have depending on what your contract says, that may be something that you can try to almost like, a way to show that you have a job already. You just need to get through training because of the contract you've signed. That might be an helpful thing for you. I don't know, check your contract. I don't know if it's something you can use. Check with a bank or a loan facilitator to see what options are there. But I just know that having that secured opportunity is a great bargaining chip in a way to maybe use as a leverage, all right, to get what you want with when it comes to raising the funds. Any advice for people in Caribbean? Hey, Lamar, I do have friends from the Caribbean. What I know is that and by the way, some of you don't know I'm in the US. I'm in the US, by the way, okay? Some people do get, from what I know, they train in the US, all right? Generally speaking, I know there's some flight schools in Caribbean, depending on what part of Caribbean you are. But some people do come over to the States. Well, the ones that I know anyway, they came over to the States, they trained, and then went back to fly in the Caribbean. So how did they raise the funds though? I do not know, right? Most of them was either sponsored by family, that's generally how they raise the money or the funds for training. Now, have you considered any scholarship programs out there? I do not know if there are scholarship programs in the Caribbean. You can always consider, I don't know how old you are, but maybe you can consider joining the military. I talk about that a lot. That's always an option. And the last ditch effort in realizing your dream is always going to school, getting a good degree, right? Because you have this reason that would push you to do well, right? And then when you're able to get a good degree, hopefully you get a good job. With that job, you're able to save money. And by the way, talking about what William mentioned earlier, sorry, I think I deleted that message, proverbial screw. If you're proverbial screw, if you're still on, I deleted that message by mistake. All right, but to answer your question about Caribbean, right? The thing is, if you can raise the funds, save the money, that's always an option. All right, but and again, if I have any information, I'll definitely share it. Hey, Chair X, sorry, a little late. It's all right. You can always go back and watch the thing if you want to do that. Patrick, hi Stephen, can you champion a course? I think I already answered that. Joshua, hey Stephen, I'm from the UK. However, I have a PPL, an instrument rating, both from the MI. I think I don't know what MI stands for. Sorry, but I plan on going to Miami to finish training. I'm also at Embry-Riddle doing masters for the F1 visa. Any advice for me? Oh, that's great. So I actually did Embry-Riddle, just so you know. I did go through the F1 visa process, so I'm very familiar with all of that. Okay, so what I would say is that you can always, if there's a specific question you have, you may reach out to me on Instagram. All right, that's the best way we can chat. But what I would say is that when it comes to this going through, considering you have an F1 visa and you're doing you say you're going to Miami to finish training, you are likely going to be able to work as an instructor with an F1, okay? If that is what you want to pursue. So you get your CPL, okay? After you since you have your instrument, you do your CPL. Oh, another thing to just consider, make sure you bring all your logbooks so that you can prove that you've met all the requirements for your private and your instrument training, okay? Because you have to do the conversion first when you come to the US, convert to the FAA standards. You have to be able to show that you've met the FAA standards in order for them to issue you the FAA PPL instrument and all that. And then with CPL added on that, you can then choose to pursue an instructor rating. With an instructor rating, you can work since you have an F1 visa, okay? With that, you gain some experience, you gain some hours, and that makes you a little bit more marketable or gives you more opportunities when you go back to the UK. I hope that makes sense. As someone that's 19 that closely missed out on the BA mainly down to experience, do you think it could be beneficial for me to get a job in aviation while looking at these cadet programs? Absolutely. All right. At the beginning of this video, I mentioned earlier that there was a lady that went through the Speedbird first time, didn't get through, tried another program, didn't get through, right? But she got to the stage, the final stage, just so you know. But guess what she then did? She went on to get and become they call them cabin crew, flight attendant, right? And She finally got BA. Now, I'm not going to say that increases your opportunity. To be honest, I don't think it does. But one thing I would say is that it does show that you're passionate about the industry. All right. So depending on what your field you're interested in, you can choose to become AMT or aircraft maintenance technician. You can choose to become a cabin crew or a flight attendant. You can choose to become aircraft dispatcher. You can choose to become somebody that works in operations, right? There's so many options in the aviation industry that you can pursue. And with that on your CV, with that as part of the things that you have as an experience, that can be a reason for you to get selected. Trust me, because at the end of the day, they are testing for your motivation along this process. They will test for your experiences, your ability to go through different things. And if you have an aviation experience, I think it will definitely help, right? But there are no guarantees. I'm just trying to let you know that there are no guarantees as to, I mean, some people actually work for BA and still didn't get through, just so you know that, right? They work for BA as maybe cabin crew or different facets of the aviation industry, but guess what? They still didn't get through. So the point here is having that experience is good, but there are no guarantees that you'll be selected. It all comes down to how you, again, do on the assessment, how you answer the interview questions, how well you've prepared, right? Things like that. All right, let's see. This is from Patrick. The irony of the ease of getting loans for university programs with relatively low paying jobs for graduates than that of pilots is just sad. That is correct. Something similar to Empower loans would help. All right, so let me answer that question from Patrick, all right? Or not a question, it was more of like a statement. The point here is if you are trying to get a loan to become a pilot, the issue with that is that most banks or financial institutions, they do not really understand how flight training works, right? They do not understand this. Yes, they may have the basic level of understanding, but at the end of the day, they know that training takes long or could take longer than expected. Sometimes a lot of people will go through training and still not get a job as a pilot. Those considerations are there. And at the end of the day, the bank funds this training, and some people don't end up becoming pilots. Why? Because maybe they just didn't get through training. They couldn't get it, right? Not everybody is equipped to be able to fly. That's the truth about it, right? Because everyone has got different gifts, right? Your gift may not be to fly. And that sometimes can be a reason why some people just struggle through training. They can't solo. They take so long. They struggle and struggle and struggle. And eventually they just give up. But guess what? The bank already funded that training, and now the bank is like, okay, where's my money? Because you're supposed to become a pilot, but now you're no longer a pilot. That means you can't pay me back my money. And the bank loses that loan eventually, because most of the time people don't pay back. And that's why it's been very difficult for banks or financial institutions to just fund this training. And that's why I always say that if what you have access to is to get a loan to go get a good degree, then go ahead and do that. When you get a good degree and hopefully you can start making some good money, you can maybe fund your training and do it as you wish. A lot of people become pilots in their 30s. Well, start their training in their 30s. Some people start their training in their 40s because it's a second career for them. They've done some things in the past and now they're starting a new career, and they've saved some money, right? And now they're starting this new career, and they just fund the training for themselves because it's a dream of theirs, right? That's an option. And that's something that I always encourage people to keep in mind, that it's not the end if you cannot start your training right away because you don't have the money. It's just that, okay, how do I get there? It may take a little bit longer. It may take a bit of creativity in raising the funds. It may take a bit of perseverance and not giving up. And, and by the way, the title of this video was Not Giving Up, right? Spirit of Perseverance. I think that's what I called it. Sounds like something from church, but hey, everything helps at this point. Did I title this correctly? No, I just realized. Oh yeah, okay. Dreams are coming true. That's what I titled it. Okay, yeah, no, that's correct. Anyway, sorry for the distraction. But the point here is, if you don't give up, there's always a room for you to become a pilot, and you just have to keep trying for the opportunities around you. What are some scholarship opportunities you know? Okay, right now, depending on where you are, this is from Kwaku, all right, Wix. Depending on where you're from, all right, most of the scholarship programs that I know are open to people in the US, okay? I don't know. I mean, right now I know there's OBAP scholarship that's going to come open soon. The EAA scholarship is another one that will open up, I believe, towards the end of this year. What else again am I thinking of? Trying to think at the top of my head. And maybe some will open up in the UK as well, but those scholarships generally require that you have some ability to work and live in the States, and that can make it difficult for people. So like I said, depending on where you're from, I don't know. But for international students, I think I've already talked about this earlier. The best thing I can say is start searching within your country, from where you're from, things like that. This is from Freerunner. Mr. Steven, have you noticed you're literally demonstrating how we should act in assessment settings, like calling out people's names? Absolutely. Actually, I'm glad you mentioned that. I think you've been watching my videos. All right. One of the things I always say to people is when you're interacting with people, your colleagues, the people you're doing these assessments with, especially in a group activity, it's very important that you make it personal. Look at them, call them by their name, interact with them to show that you are engaged in the activity you're doing. Anyway, that's the reference Mr. Freerunner is giving right there. You call people by their name. It makes it personal, it's engaging, and it's just more, I guess, respectful, especially in the light of an assessment, because you're being watched, right? They want to see how well you do that, because at the end of the day, you'll be working in a group environment, in a team environment, where you're interacting with the captain, the first officer. If you're a captain, you're interacting with the first officer, right? If you're a first officer, you're interacting with the captain. You're interacting with other people on board, passengers. All right. And if you have the opportunity to know their name, it's better you refer to them by their name. All right. And it just shows that connection, right? There's more connection created, or engagement. All right. Doing that. Thanks for sharing that, by the way. Lemar, how did you become a permanent resident in Canada? No, I'm in the US. I don't know about Canada, if that makes sense. Okay. So I'm not a permanent resident in Canada. So I don't know about that. You mentioned William's story earlier, right? Yes, I did. I believe I did. No. That wasn't him, by the way. Mr. Freerunner, that wasn't him. Nah, Steven's story. One of the ones from this year. I got the offer after the interview stage. Oh, now I remember. I'm sorry. I think I was referring to another William from the previous year. Okay. Sorry about that. I think I mixed them up now. So I remember now. Yeah, William. Sorry about that. FS Madness Pilot. Hey, how are you doing? Are there any cadet programs for Europeans? Oh, I talk about those a lot on this channel. If your question is one that is currently open, then I think the only one that I know of is EasyJet right now, and that's not fully sponsored anyway. Hey Steven, piloting stuff aside for 1 second, what are some hobbies or interests you have? Great. I'm like, I think you've been following me for some time. You know that I have excluding finance, so you know I have a finance channel too. Yes, so let me tell you what I do. All right, thanks for making this more fun for me. So sometimes you just want to talk, right? But anyway, so some things I do. Sorry. I don't really do much, just so you know. So sorry. Jeez, I need to drink water. All right. Hobbies. I do work out a lot. I try to work out every day as much as I can. And I like mostly running. I do a bit of weights here and there, but mostly cardio. That's what I do. The next thing I do that I would say as a hobby of mine is I read. I try to read a lot about finance, personal development. All right. So personal development area will be things like interviewing as well, how to prepare. So I think I'm trying to build my life, right? I'm still growing, right? But I'm trying to build my life around a niche area. And so aviation is one, finance is another one, and just personal development. So those three areas are trying to find ways to link them together. So for example, as a pilot, one of the things that you do is you want to get good rest, eat well, and study, right? Study your materials. So for example, I do work out. I do try to eat well, healthy for most part. I do try to study as much as I can. But when I say study, I'm talking about study things that are within the field and maybe sometimes outside of the field. What is outside of my field of my profession is finance. Finance is something of my interest that I talk about. And think about it. The reason why we work, let's forget about the dream. We all want to have freedom, financial freedom, and live life on our own terms at the end of the day. Yes, you want to fly, but you can't fly forever. At some point, flying will come to an end. And at the end of the day, what comes down to it is how well have you invested your money? How well have you saved your money? How well has your money worked for you? Why is this important? I will remember the struggle of running out of money in flight school, right? I was grounded. And these are stories that are very deep, and it brings out a lot of emotion in me, because I remember just going through flight training and not realizing that how am I going to, or not knowing how I'm going to achieve the goal of becoming this pilot, right? I have so much passion for the field, but there's no money, right? And luckily, I had my parents to help me out. I had family support to help me out. And, but there were times I ran out of money. Sometimes I was grounded for months. All right. And that's why my training took 2 years. And I'm proud to say that, right? Because maybe it could have taken me a year if I had money, but because I didn't have money at all times, right? There were times I ran out of money, and then I had to get back on the horse again, right? But one thing I did during those times was I made sure that I kept my knowledge up to speed, so that when I went back to fly, I was able to do what I needed to do, and even with that, I still became an instructor and did all that stuff. So anyway, my hobbies, right? Working out, reading, and of course, making YouTube videos. So that's why I have 2 channels to talk about my hobbies. My finance channel is struggling. And by the way, if you're not subscribed to the channel, if you like finance, right? And by the way, if you like finance and it's something you're interested in and you want to support the channel, check out my finance channel. I don't talk about it at all, but to be honest, it's something that I like to talk about. I don't care about the views. It's just something that I enjoy, and I share that as well. So when it comes to investing, the stock market, bonds, mutual funds, ETFs, the list goes on, right? Peer-to-peer lending, things like that. I talk about those things. And again, those are things that I'm interested in. So if that is something you're interested in, you can subscribe. If you're not interested in it, don't subscribe to the channel at all. All right. So that's okay. I hope that answers your question, Mr. Freerunner. All right. Thanks for letting me just share that. All right. It's not something I talk about at all, but it's something of my interest. Joshua, good to see you. I'm glad you're doing well. How is training going? And I hope it's moving on well. Maria, hi Stephen. Thank you for all the work you're putting in for us. Can you talk a bit about integrated mentored ATPL training? I don't know if you meant what's it called? Modular. If that was integrated or modular ATPL training. I would say that, first of all, I always say this. I'm in the United States, okay, just so that most of you know that, all right? I'm familiar with the processes because they're quite similar with the US as well, with slight differences. But when it comes to getting an integrated ATPL training done, if that is what you can afford to do, that means you can start your training and just dedicate your time to the training through the course of a year to 2 years or so. Then go ahead, 18 months generally speaking, then go ahead and take an integrated route. If you take the integrated route, generally it means that you're not doing anything else. That means you're not trying to work, or you're not trying to support a family. You're just kind of focused on training. This is generally a good thing for those that are able to do that, because you're able to focus, get it done, and move on, right? But with the modular route, then that is something that is a bit different, because with the modular, you kind of stop. You can start. You can do it in bits and pieces, depending on how well you are funded, depending on how well you have the time. So it all goes back to what you are, what you can do. All right. I hope I answered your question, Maria. If I'm not answering the question, just let me know. All right. But I hope I'm answering that correctly. But I'm not sure what you meant by integrated mentored ATPL training. I don't know what that is. If that is exactly what you're looking for, I'm not sure I know what that mentored aspect. I don't know what that means. All right. Let's see. This is Omar. Did you go straight to flight school or did you get a university degree? So glad you asked that question. I got a degree first before going into flight training. So I got my degree in computer science. I always say this: you don't need a degree to become a pilot, but if you can always. And by the way, one of my hobbies is, I guess hobbies, interests would be technology, right? So somebody asked about that earlier, and that's why I'm putting that into it as well. But I'm not good at programming. I've tried my hands on programming and all that. I kind of realized that I wasn't really interested in that. But one thing that got me interested in technology started from just making videos. So this is outside of my what oh my gosh, I can't speak English anymore. All right, what got me interested in videos, right, and YouTube was really the fact that growing up I would make videos, right, but I never put them online. This was just me in my little old computer back then, and I'll try to make videos and all that. So anyway, then that got me into like trying to edit videos and try to create motion graphics and things like that. So anyway, that's how my interest in making videos came about. And I thought about it just I saw when YouTube came along, I never had the guts to put myself out there, right? Because I was always worried that somebody that knows me would see me and I was like, oh my God, I'm so embarrassed by what they see online. And, anyway, cut long story short, I realized that my desire to provide this information to people outweighs my own fear of putting myself out there. Sometimes I make mistakes when I speak, right? English isn't my official first, well, I guess it's kind of my first language, but not really my first language. We have other languages that I speak. Anyway, so the point here is there were so many fears and things that I was worried about, but eventually you kind of realize that I know if I could provide the information that I have and I've acquired over time to people that are interested in those, I know it would help them a lot. So I had to put my own fears aside and put myself out there. And based on the feedback and all that I get, it's quite encouraging and rewarding to have done that. Anyway, I hope that makes sense. So you don't need a degree to get started, all right? I did have a degree, or I do have a degree, but you don't need a degree to get started. This is from LB. Do you think it's better to become an aircraft engineer first before you become... All right. So one thing to know is that they're no longer aircraft engineers. I take it back. There are no flight engineers. All right. I just want to make sure that, okay, you said aircraft engineers. All right. So you can become an aircraft engineer or aeronautical engineer. That's usually the term for it, aeronautical engineer, which then means that you have to get a degree first, right? And then start working as an aeronautical engineer, working on designing airplanes and stuff like that. On the other hand, there's aircraft maintenance technicians. All right. They are not engineers. They are more the guys that work on the field. So, for example, let's assume that you and I fly, let's just say you and I fly to a place, all right, and the airplane breaks down, or we note a problem with the airplane, or the tire is bald, or there's a leak coming from the engines, right? Who do we call? We call maintenance technicians, all right, not engineers. Engineers are people that actually design the airplane. So, for example, engineers are people that work for like Boeing, Lockheed Martin, Airbus, right? These are guys that are designing the airplane. Like, all right, they're designing on a computer using programs, considering the weight factors, the, wing design and wing to lift ratio and all these terms, right? Or the technical part, not technical, the engineering part of it, all right? Now, when it comes to actually putting the airplane together, servicing the airplane, doing all the technician aspect of things, the maintenance technicians do that. Now, is that a field? Absolutely. But what do you need to become an aeronautical engineer? You need a degree. What do you need to become a maintenance technician? You need training. So there are two different things. And I hope that makes sense. Let's see. Wow, that speech was really motivating, and I will use it to discipline myself as a 26-year-old. I'm glad you found it motivating, Mr. Freerunner. Thank you. William, it's a painful wait between programs. What should we do? Should we be doing during this long waits in between cadet programs to improve our images? BA was my first try, and I'm motivated after doing well. Absolutely. I'm glad you're motivated. And this is something that I always say, what can you be doing in between? The first thing you can do is if you can find any volunteering activities that you can take, those can generally help you to create stories. So I always say this, right? If you can get through the aptitude tests and all the written tests that you may have to do, the interview is generally down to your experiences, right? That's the bulk of it, or how you handle challenges and how you've dealt with challenges in the past. Now, in order to improve your chances of success, it helps to have vast experience. When you have a lot of experiences, that means you can tap into those experiences. So, for example, somebody that is young, right, and not to say this is a disadvantage, it could be an advantage depending on how you look at it, or depending on how you narrate your experiences. But let's assume that you are young and you don't have a lot of experiences. One thing I always say is, put yourself out there. Find volunteer at a local store, a local non-profit organization, right? When you do that, that's an experience you would take away. Trust me, you may have to work in a team, you may have to work under the supervision of somebody, you may have to be a leader at whatever role you get in with those opportunities, and those things would help you to demonstrate to the interviewer, right, in your future assessments that you have these traits. The problem that a lot of people struggle with is when they go into these interviews, you may not have those experiences, one, or you may not know how to tell the stories, and that's what they struggle with. And if you can tell the stories, highlighting your competencies really well, and then, answer the questions that they've asked you using your experiences and competencies, it increases your chances of success a lot. So my advice to you is, while you're waiting, look for opportunities out there, whether it's through your job or whether it's through volunteering, even if it's just volunteering an hour a day or 2 hours, not a day, but like a week or a month or whatever, it's an opportunity. And the fact that you're volunteering means that you are in for the good cause. You're trying to make the world a better place. You're trying to help out. You're doing something that you're passionate about. All right, you're giving your time to these organizations. And what is interesting is that these airlines do appreciate that as well. When they see that, this person has chosen to volunteer or has chosen to help the needy, has donate, whatever you can do, right? Apart from getting the experiences, it's good on your CV. And I talk about CV a lot as well in the links that I share below in the description section of my videos. So that is something you can be doing. But then the other thing is also then practicing some of these assessments that you are likely going to take. It's always important when you practice, you get better. But don't limit your practice to just what is available on Pass or SkyTest or whatever that may be, right? Try to get those books on aptitude tests and try to study them so that you can have, the more skills you acquire, the better you are likely to perform on the day of the assessment. Let's see, this is from Freerunner. It's also more personal when you call by their name. It's more respectful, I guess. Absolutely. Joshua, how many years do you think the pilot shortage will last? Some people I know are predicting 10 to 15 years. So Joshua, it depends on the location. So for example, in the US right now, they are actually overstaffed in most organizations, unfortunately. In Europe, it's slightly different. And I don't know if I would call the shortage isn't as much as what it used to be. Why? Because COVID created a huge vacuum that needed to be filled. So due to COVID, they've laid off a lot of pilots. Some people took early retirement. So when, COVID, when COVID was behind us, right, all these airlines started acquiring airplanes and they were growing and people were flying again. And there's this huge void that needed to be filled by professionals, and that was what led to the shortage. But now these airlines have now reached a plateau where flying isn't as people are still flying, but the point here is it's not as the rate, it wasn't as much as what it was post COVID, right? And that is why a lot of them are no longer hiring in the US. In Europe, it's slightly different. The problem, not the problem, I think the issue out there is a lot of people struggle to raise funds to train, and that's why these airlines provide these opportunities like the cadet programs that I talk about to support qualified candidates, right? And What that then means is that the airlines create a steady flow of qualified pilots. So for example, as you finish flight training, right, you move on to join the airline. You already have a guaranteed job. They trained you, and it's like a pipeline, right? People will retire. So the shortage isn't as much as it used to be, right? But there's always attrition, and that is always due to retirement, people leaving, people getting sick, things like that. So there's always that need. So to say that it's going to last 10 to 15 years depends on so many factors. The other thing to remember is Boeing and Airbus issues, Airbus having engine issues, Boeing having, design flaws, and they identify all these flaws, and then they cut back on delivery and all those factors, right? It all depends, because what that means is if airlines cannot get the airplanes, then airlines will not hire pilots. It's as simple as that. So there's all of that going on right now. Then we also have the whole economy going on, economic situation, inflation being high. And this will lead me to my finance talk, right? Inflation being high, people are not really traveling, people are not really flying as much as expected due to just the cost of operation, of flying is quite high. So all those factors, right? People are not spending as much money as they would prefer. All those factors are there to consider. But one thing I want to keep it to say is this, right? According to the statistics out there, all right, according to the research by Boeing, Airbus, by what's this airline? Not Citation. This is other airline out there, Gulfstream, right? Based on their research and projections, the numbers of required qualified pilots continues to increase. So I think I've shared this in the past. I don't know if some of you have seen this. Depending on what part of the continent, North America, South America, Africa, Europe, Asia, all those different regions will continue to expand their aviation industry. That means there's a need for more airplanes, need for more pilots, need for more aircraft maintenance technicians going forward. There's always a threat of conflict, however, right? We have the Ukraine, Russia, we have the Israel and the old Middle Eastern region thing going on as well. I don't know if it's called war or tension, right? All those things can generally disrupt things, right? We also have recessions and things that can always cause economic collapse in countries. So those things will determine how well the aviation industry develops. I hope this makes sense. I know that's a long-winded answer, but the point is there's always going to be need for pilots, and being able to position yourself as a qualified candidate, that means you have your ratings, your hours, means that you are able to secure the opportunity when it opens up. Let's see, Williams, one thing I think might be cool to bring up is I've started gliding, and it's really helped me get an understanding of the feeling of flying and the physics, and only around 1,500 heroes fully. Absolutely. I'm glad you mentioned that, William. All right, let me pin this as well. This is a very good point. One thing I always say is, so there was a scholarship program by I can't remember the name of the program now. I think it's I need to look it up again. Air League. I can't remember. I don't want to just mislead people, but anyway, they would provide you with gliding scholarships and flying scholarships as well. But what I'm trying to say is, if what you can afford to get started with is gliding, then take it, right? It's something that would help you in showing your interests in aviation, right? It would help, and it doesn't cost a lot of money in comparison to getting a fully flight training, right, done. So anything that helps to show that your interest lies in aviation would go a long way. This is Just. Will you one day make videos of you flying for fun? Great. Just, I'm glad you asked that question. So there are two parts to this, all right? The question, let me repeat the question again. Will I one day make videos of me flying for fun? There are two parts to it. One is I can make a video of myself flying in a general aviation airplane, and what that means is just small Cessna 172 or small airplanes like that. That's I can, right? I don't know when, but I can. Why? Because actually, this is my flight instructor. This is expired, by the way, but the current one, I got it recently. All right. And the reason why I just show that is that I still have my instructor license. So the point is I can literally teach people how to fly. All right. I mean, I need to get current because I haven't done it in a long time. But I'm still aware of the knowledge, right? I still have the knowledge and stuff like that. So the point is I have the license to still teach people how to fly. And I think when I have the time, because right now when I'm off, the things I'm doing are just, taking care of the family and being home. I don't want to take a second job. I mean, this is already taking my time, by the way, right? So I'm talking about YouTube. So the point is flying outside of work is something that I try to limit as much as I can, just because it's extra time spent away from home. But when it comes to showing myself flying at work, that is something that I cannot do, unfortunately. And that is because, there's so many rules, right? There's so many rules, and you don't want to put yourself in a situation. I know people do that where they show themselves flying and all that, but it's just not worth it for me, right? It's not the risk to reward in terms of breaking a rule or just being distracted by non-essential, stuff is not worth it for me. And that's why I don't show myself flying and all, and I think, I'm more focused on creating value in this through the knowledge that I have rather than me showing myself flying, if that makes sense. And Mr. Freerunner, thanks for sharing that. All right. Air France, Ryan, Heat Program, many more. Yeah, you're right. Now, Air France, I think their requirement states that you have to be able to speak French. And there's something else again, due to the Brexit issue, the Brexit, UK, Europe, Brexit situation. So there's like some laws that are in place now that if you are a UK citizen, you cannot fly with Air France. And actually a friend of mine, that subscribes to this channel as well, actually had that issue recently. So that's something to keep in mind anyway. I'm applying for the Speedbird program in 2025 and doing the best I can, although if there anything you would advise on me to do, I think I've already covered a lot of that through my videos, Chair X. I've covered that. If you go to the playlist section, go to the Speedbird program, just kind of play the video in the background. All right. I think that would help you a lot, honestly. I've mentioned that already. Steven, I'm one of the investors back in 2017. I've invested a lot in crypto. Nice. And index funds myself. I like finance too. Awesome, man. Awesome. Now, the question is, are you subscribed to my finance channel though? But it's good to see that you're into cryptocurrencies and index funds and stuff like that. Glad that you're doing that. That's good. I do index funds. I do very minimal crypto stuff because how crypto is, right? It's all volatile, and today's up, tomorrow is down. But Bitcoin, Dogecoin and Link and all those, right? I kind of look at them, but I prefer to do. My long-term goal is always to invest in index funds, mutual funds, and ETFs. Sometimes I would do individual stocks, all right, and invest in them as well. And if you do, I don't know what part, I'm guessing you're in the UK, right? So you definitely will be able to do index funds and individual stocks as well. But anyway, I don't want to turn this into a finance conversation. X, I was raised in an aviation family. All my family on my dad's side were in the Air Force. I was raised on the RAF camp. I've done test flights, gone on conferences, did well in school etc. That's great. I'm also 19 years old. So still early and looking for any routes. So I would say, don't just focus on Speedbird only. Of course, keep trying for that. But don't forget about the other programs, Aer Lingus, there's so many more that I talk about. I can't remember their names now, but the point is keep your opportunities open. That's what I can say. Keep your opportunities open. Epiphany, good to see you. Hope you're keeping well. Have you found your computer science degree ever came into play through your flying career? Honestly, great question, and the answer is no. The answer is no, and the reason is because flying and, for example, a computer science degree is just, So when you go to a flight school, you're trained, right, to fly. When you get to an airline, the airline will train you to fly the airplane, and you have to stick to their procedures. So flying doesn't require creativity, right? Flying is just all about, and by the way, this is something I should talk about on one of my videos. If there's something I do not like about aviation or flying, is that it's a good thing and a bad thing. Good thing in the sense that everybody can keep to a standard, right? So you do things exactly like this every time. And if everybody does that, then everybody keeps to a standard operating procedure. Nobody gets creative. We don't want creativity. I mean, if you have suggestions for the airline and how to improve things, you can always do that. Don't get me wrong. But I'm talking about like the actual flying itself. There isn't much room for creativity, right? And that's why they have operating procedures or standard operating procedures. Now, with the computer science degree, right, depending on what field you focus on, for example, you can create apps, right? If you're a programmer, you can work on the front end or back end of a project. And all of that can sometimes have some creative ways to do them, right? So it kind of pushes your creativity. But flying, you just have to literally, the goal is fly from point A to point B, right? Following procedures and established standards. That's it. So the point I'm trying to make is, I haven't seen my computer science being a great benefit, all right, to flying. However, in the world of creating backups, right? When I say backups, like having options in life, it is a good thing. Okay. So for example, I am not foreign to programming languages. It's not foreign to me to, open up a computer. These are just things that are coming to my head. But the point is, you have a vast knowledge of things that you can do. Saying technology is not foreign to me. That's because of the fact that I understand how these things work on a foundational level anyway. And that means that if, God forbid, right, you can't fly, or you have an option of what to do. And that's where the degree comes in. And that's why I always say that even though degree is not required, it's always good to have backups, all right, have options. I hope that makes sense. 4J, thanks for coming back again. Do you think it's a better idea to go for an MPL and be tied to an airline, or to be a white-tail ATPL grad? I'm thinking of these options after university, but can't come to a decision. So what I would say is that if you have the option to choose between the ATPL, white-tail grad, for example, or an MPL, I would say go with the ATPL. Now, not that an MPL is bad. It's just that you have a lot of restrictions in the sense the MPL path is tied to the airline you trained for. And that means if you have to leave to another airline, you have to go through their own process literally all over again. That's one part. Then the other thing also is that the MPL kind of, I've talked about this in the video. It's somewhat maybe a year ago now, so I can't remember the details of it. But in order for you to upgrade your MPL license to a full ATPL, you actually would require to take some extra training. And that means extra time because the MPL has limitations or restrictions. Let's put it that way, restrictions. So if you have the option to choose an ATPL, I would say go for a full ATPL training. I studied computer science too. I wonder if something with our brains makes us do both if you have an interest in aviation. Absolutely. I mean, just know that even if you studied history or art in college, right, know that it won't stop you from being a pilot. And it may not, it won't give you any added advantage per se in the field of flying. I hope that makes sense. In the field of flying itself, there's no added advantage. On the other hand, in the world of having backups and having options in life, right, it's good to have a degree so that, in case something happens, you have options. And talking about having backups, right, the reason why I brought this up is, and by the way, I think I've been on for how long now? An hour plus, maybe? How do I see the time? I can't see the time somewhere. I think it's more than an hour anyway. The reason why having backups is important is, people I think I've mentioned this in a video before, right, where people get sick. Actually, I've been on for an hour, 24 minutes. All right. So people get sick, all right, things come up and they lose their medical and they cannot fly. So that's something that you need to keep in mind. And that's why I always say that having backups can help in life anyway. That's really all I can say with that. I wonder if it's a similar, let's see, for Maria, I was talking about an airline tied ATPL, which is self-sponsored. I'm going to an interview for Ryan Mentor. Oh, I see what you mean. Okay, great. Thanks for clarifying that, Maria. So in that case, right, that's, in my opinion, that's good, right? Because hopefully you have a job at the end of it all, right? And they would provide all the resources you need, all right, to succeed. So I think that's a good thing. And Ryan here is a good airline. I mean, I don't see why not. You know, I would definitely jump at the opportunity. You know, if I were in your shoes anyway. So yeah, mentor. I see what you mean now. Ryan Air Mentor program. That's definitely great. I don't see why not. I mean, from what I know anyway. Omar, you should live stream more. Omar, yes, I should live stream more. I appreciate that. Thank you. I guess you're finding value in this one. And if you're finding value in this, please don't forget to drop a like on the video. The reason why I don't live stream a lot is because one, I need to be in a controlled environment like this where, I mean, when I'm working, I can't live stream, right? When I'm at the hotel, it's just so much going on. I only have my phone. I mean, I know I can stream on my phone, but it's still not just, it's not convenient. Let's put it that way. And I have the time today, and I was like, you know what? Based on what came to mind. And by the way, the main focus of this video is that, you know, no matter the challenges you've experienced, no matter the difficulties you've faced, no matter the setbacks you've had, don't be discouraged by those things, because those experiences generally prepare you for the future ones, right? They prepare you they make you better for the future opportunities. And if you can take the lessons, if any, no matter how little, right, from those experiences, your chances of succeeding on your future endeavors, and even if it's a program, right, your chances of succeeding increases a lot. And I shared the story of two people, right, a male, a female. They went through the split birth program first time. They got to the final. They came really close. They didn't get through. They both went on to try other airlines. They didn't get through. The guy ended up trying another airline, made it to the final. Ended up being put on a waiting list, right? Because he met all the requirements, but due to some, I don't know how they measure. Okay, I guess based on the need of the requirement, they only needed, I think, 30 people or so. It was, you know, they put him on a waiting list, and I guess it's still on the waiting list till now anyway. But guess what? It got awarded Split Bird program. And I'm just sharing with you that don't give up, right? That's the point. Continue to try, if this is what you are interested in and this is what you're passionate about, continue to go for it. And I shared my own experience, my own setback that I had as well. There was an airline that I was really interested in. I was all in or nothing, right? That was the only airline I applied to at the time anyway. But guess what? Made it through everything, all the difficult steps of it, only for them to tell me I do not fit the culture. I mean, how disappointed is that? Like, I wish I had failed on the test. Then maybe I would say maybe I could study, right? But imagine them telling you that you don't fit the culture. Like what is about me, right? That I do not fit the culture. I don't know what I meant, right? And that's because of the whole spectrum thing that I talked about, right? They want you to be within the certain, you know, traits, character, or whatever. And they may tell you, know, if the airline comes back and tells you that you don't fit the culture, what do you do, right? You can't change who you are, you know. Why do I need to change myself to fit into an airline? So those are just the realities of the job and of life anyway. There will be setbacks, there will be disappointments, there will things would happen in your life that you can't control, and your ability to just look beyond those things and try for future opportunities, you know, is what you have to do. And you know, I've tried on different airlines afterwards, and I've gotten all the jobs, and this particular one that I really wanted told me that I don't fit the culture. Makes no sense. But anyway, just wanted to share that. This is Callum. Do you have any idea when application for 2025 Speedway program opens, just so I know when I should start preparing? Honestly, right now I do not know. Okay, but one thing I always say is you can always go on the Speedbird Pilot Academy website on their job. I can't remember the specific web name now, but you can create a job alert. All right. And once any information drops, you get alerted. So that's something that I encourage you guys to do. If you go to the airlines you're interested in, go create a job alert for those programs so that when they come available, you are notified. Okay. 2024 was opened in September, October last year, and that's correct. So that's this. So the current one that just closed opened up 3 months ago, I believe. So not closed, that they just got the results for anyway. Opened up 3 months ago or so. Because it closed, I believe, July 27. Actually, like maybe June, or I think it was June. I will need to pull it up here. See, I'm trying to just see where accept. It doesn't actually say the date it closed here. But if you create a what do you call it, a job alert, all right, you get notified, and I think that's something you can always do, so that way you don't miss any important update. Joshua, I think my message was misunderstood. Both my PPL and instrument, I got it. Oh, Michigan. Oh, I'm sorry. I want to finish my training in Miami while attending Embraer. I don't really want to fly in the UK. Oh, I see what you mean now. Okay, Joshua, sorry about that. So for some reason, I was thinking you were somewhere in the UK. That's why I kind of went in that direction. So to answer that, while attending Embraer, or I don't really want to fly in the UK and advice. All right, so what I would say is, if you want to, I know you mentioned something about F1 earlier, all right? And if you have an F1 visa, then that means that you are able to work, right? So if you're going to train in Miami, which is great for training, I don't know what part of area, what part of Miami, know that Miami is expensive, but depending on the school that you're going to, just know that hopefully they can accept their students to instruct. All right, they hire their students to become flight instructors, and hopefully you can use that to gain some hours. All right. If you have any specific question that you have, I don't know what other advice I can give to you, because I did something similar. I did my master's program at Embry-Riddle. All right, and I did aeronautical science. All right. The reason why I chose that was I wanted something in aviation, something that would give me more, I guess, a qualification in aviation. Let's put it that way, outside of flying. So if that is, I don't know if you're doing a degree program, then that means, give or take, you have about 4 years. I don't know what phase you are in your degree right now. Are you going to be doing it online? Are you going to be doing it in person? You kind of have to juggle all of that. But the point I'm trying to make is, with an F1 visa, I know that you can still work afterwards and gain some hours. And I think that's all you can really do. Oh man, Charlie, well done. Congratulations. All right. Got my acceptance email into Speedbird Academy this afternoon. Thank you for all your help throughout the process and being so informative. Thank you so much. Thanks for sharing that information. Well done. Well done. You said I seem very tired. Yes, because I've been talking for a long time now. But it's nice. It's already an hour, 30 minutes on. I still have plans to do some other things today. So today I already did some other things. I went out. What did I do this morning? Went out for a run. I was out for a while. I watched a game. Some under 13 were playing soccer. For those of you that are familiar with soccer, I like football, by the way, or soccer. All right, football, soccer, whatever. So anyway, I was there watching that for a while, and then came back, made a video, jumped on this live. And yeah, so I think I should be tired, and I need to go and get lunch as well. I guess I'm hungry. All right, funny. I know somebody that was a yoga instructor for 24 years, then decided to become a pilot. It shows you can be anything and still live your flying dream. Absolutely, absolutely. I love that. For Jay, thank you for the advice. I knew you needed 1,500 hours to upgrade, but you didn't know about the added training. Appreciate your content. I'm at the start of of a long journey. Well, know that time flies by quickly. I started my training in 2010, and looking back, I'm like, what? It's already 14 years now or so, and that's to tell you that when you're doing something that you love, right, time is just going to go by really quickly. Time is going to be flying. That's the point. Griffin, hey Stephen, absolutely got it. Got rejected on the final stage of Speedbird, but going to give it all next round. Absolutely. The fact that you got to the final stage is a great accomplishment. I already shared my advice to you. Take notes of the day, but then compare it with the feedback you're given. Ask questions, all right? Know that your feedback is going to go by quick, okay? And that's just something for you to remember. Depending on who you get, right? Your feedback can be like, it will be over in like 10 minutes or 10, 15 minutes. Okay, because they have a lot of people they need to get to. So be ready to have your big questions answered. All right, your important questions, have them noted down so that you don't lose that person or lose that opportunity. Okay. Let's see, Callum, when the requirements for the Speedway Pilot Academy says able to hold a Class 1 medical, does that mean you need to have a valid one? No, it means that you need to have the ability to hold it. You don't have to have it, all right? Eventually, once you get selected, they will actually send you, the rest of the requirements of what you need to do and how you should get your medical and all that stuff, all right? But you don't have to have it to apply. At Pilot Careers Live, they said if you get in, they will pay for it, but I encourage you to do your own research. That's what I heard. That's what I heard as well, Fujay. So you're right about that. I think they will pay for it, okay, but I'm not sure also. All right. Epiphany, thank you so much. I appreciate your time as well. Thank you. Freerunner, is Spain popular for its flight schools or its weather? Both the flight school and the weather. All right. Because remember that there are so many countries that do have flight schools, but if they don't have the weather all year round, it can be a problem. And that's where Spain kind of has the advantage. All right. Joshua, I got to go now, but thanks so much. Thank you so much for Joshua. What team do you support? So football wise, I used to be an Arsenal fan. I actually have their jersey and all that, but nowadays I'm not sure anymore. I love Arsenal, but now I'm not sure. Yeah, wanted to just catch up with you guys. I know I've spent a lot of time here. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. It's been fun. Thanks for Jay, Epiphany, Freerunner, Maria Williams. Just kind of going through the list here. LB, Just, all of you guys that left comments, the likes, Patrick, if you guys are still on, Proverbial Crew, Logan, all of you guys, all right. Congratulations to you all again. Just wanted to, have this chat, share my own experience, share the story that I felt was really inspiring, and I hope that it's inspired you as well. And know that, there's always another opportunity around the corner. And I'd love to see you guys in the future somewhere flying. That's the ultimate dream. Have a great week. Today's a holiday over here, so I guess that's why I'm off. No, that's not why I'm off. I was lucky to be off. But anyway, just wanted to share that.